Prosecutors say that a music teacher with 26 years' experience was allegedly fondling young girls.
The second high school teacher had been charged in a sexual abuse case.
Last week, some fourth graders said their teacher molested them.
What a nightmare. You trust your children to a school, and they're molested.
Another of their teachers is facing sex-related charges.
No one's certain how often this happens, but at least we're more informed now. The horror of molestation's out of the closet. We're quicker to acknowledge it and make sure the teacher's fired and kept away from the kids. But how many of these accusations are true? Albert Thompson's a substitute teacher in Chicago. Last year, he was told to fill in for a fourth-grade teacher at this school.
I spent one day with this particular class, 6 hours. 6 hours which changed my whole life.
Thompson had worked hard to become a teacher and deliberately chose to work in troubled neighborhoods like this one. Here he thought he could be of the most use. He could give something back to kids who most needed inspiration. To do that in this classroom, Thompson insisted on rigid discipline. Some of the kids resented that. Thompson wasn't concerned about their resistance until he woke the next day and was horrified to find himself on television.
9 girls and 1 boy allege a substitute teacher fondled them here.
You had a forest fire, out of control.
Meantime, counselors are talking with any students traumatized by the incident.
Angry parents on the TV every night.
If this gentleman, in fact, did what was alleged, we don't want him teaching.
The police report says one girl says you touched her breasts over her clothing as you held her hands behind her back. Another says Mr. Thompson felt his penis while standing in front of the classroom. And one child after the other.
That's a conspiracy or a figment of someone's imagination.
It was all a lie. Good police work revealed that, incredibly, one girl, angry about being disciplined, had bribed 10 classmates, paying them $1 each to make up a story about Thompson molesting them. After 10 days, charges were dropped, but it'll be harder to restore his reputation.
Many parents remain unconvinced, even after police investigators and the state's attorney's office determined the allegations were false.
Now Thompson works at a health food store. He's too nervous, he says, to go back into the classroom. Despite his terrible experience, some teachers would say Thompson was lucky because at least the charges were dropped fairly quickly. More accused teachers have experiences like Dick Cleghorn's.
With one signature of a pen on a piece of paper, you could be jailed right now. The police will walk in this door, handcuff you, and take you away. That's all it takes.
3 years ago, 4 students claimed that Cleghorn, during their music class, touched them inappropriately. Music teachers are hit with these accusations more often than others.
When you're teaching music, you're involved in teaching kids how to use their hands.
It didn't really matter that Cleghorn had taught in the district without complaint for 26 years, because the kid's testimony was quite convincing.
I know it's tough. There's nothing to be embarrassed. Show us where on your body his hand was.
His hand was right here, and then it moved right here.
Dick's wife, Sharon, was home that morning when police surrounded the house.
It was devastating, absolutely devastating. And I thought, well, it will go away. There will be an investigation, and they will find out that there's no truth to the matter.
How'd you know there was no truth?
I've known Dick for so many years.
Well, do you ever really know what another person does?
I think some women really know what their men do. Yes.
But of course, what the media had was an accusation from a prosecutor.
Prosecutors say Richard Cleghorn of Hamilton Square is charged with aggravated criminal contact, aggravated sexual contact.
Cleghorn became locally famous as the accused molester.
Authorities say Cleghorn also did private music tutoring in his home and are asking anyone who knows of similar incidents to call the sex crimes unit.
My life was caving in because I could see my whole life destroyed right there.
The prosecutor determined his hands were on their buttocks.
I think we literally shook every morning, and Dick was sick to his stomach every morning.
I no longer had control over what was going on in my life. My life was in the hands of everybody else.
In the hands of the prosecutors, his lawyers, the judge, his accusers. He faced 40 years in prison as his case dragged on for 2.5 years.
He didn't put his hand under me because I was sitting. Okay. He went like this.
It's true?
Wrong. It's a lie.
Why was she lying?
Because she was trying to justify a position that she had taken.
Why do you think these girls would make the accusation if it wasn't true?
Well, I think The first one who did it had been molested by 2 members of her family. A lot of people don't like to tell that their families have done this to them or that to them, and they look for a scapegoat to shift blame.
It's called transference, says lawyer Michael Rothschild. He's investigated a number of these cases.
When you have young people who are being sexually or physically abused at home, they will not rat on a father, brother, uncle, or even mother that is physically or sexually abusing them. The person they pick is someone they trust, that they know will not hurt them. So if they love you dearly as a teacher, they're going to, because of transference, name you as the person that really abused them, when in fact it was somebody at home.
Other kids may then go along out of peer pressure. Another explanation, says Dick Cleghorn, is envy.
In the community in which we live, the teachers are probably the best, some of the best paid people in the community.
This might be about get the rich teacher?
Could very well be.
The president of the country's biggest teachers union, Keith Geiger, says what they see most often is students filing phony complaints to get revenge.
A student gets a low grade, so he accuses a teacher?
That's probably the main reason why these accusations are being made.
And of the hundreds you've investigated, how many are real?
Very few. The vast majority of them are false charges.
And the charges against Dick Cleghorn? Well, after years of living under a cloud of suspicion, a jury took less than 2 hours to acquit him on all 8 charges. There were too many inconsistencies in the girl's accusations. One claimed she was molested at a time when testimony showed she wasn't even in Dick's class.
And when the last not guilty verdict came in, I started to cry. I cried because a whole lifetime had been salvaged.
Horrible as his experiences were, you could say again that he was one of the lucky ones, because the accusations were clearly shot down. But often there's no proof. In the past, juries faced with taking the word of a child or teacher have chosen, reasonably, to protect the child. Teachers complain it's gone too far. These teachers, who between them have more than 100 years teaching experience with all ages of students, say the phrase, "teacher touched me," has become the students' new weapon.
Are the kids now aware that this is a weapon they have?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. I have had children or heard children say to a teacher or whatever that I'll sue you.
4th and 5th graders say things
exactly.
like that.
They know that word. They know it's a weapon. You know.
It's changed the way these teachers teach. When they were trained, they were told kids need physical affection.
For a teacher to deny a child affection and understanding is to deny him an education. Without it, a child will reject school as he rejects life outside the school.
But now teachers like Sharon Cleghorn, she teaches music too, say if a child starts to touch her, she'll pull away.
You cringe and grin and bear it and hope, please get away from me, but I have to be as dignified and a lady and smile.
Isn't it a terrible thing for the child to sense that?
Oh, the child probably feels she's rejected.
It's robbing the child.
Of course.
It's robbing the child.
You push them away, you may be pushing them away from even learning, because then they shut down and they don't want to be bothered.
10 years ago when you started teaching, did you think twice about hugging a child?
Not really. I would encourage them maybe to sit on my lap. You know, would you like to sit on my lap today and help me read the story? Today I would never do that.
So she comes and she wants to sit in your lap. You sort of...
I would say, well, you know what? You can sit right here next to me, and that'll be just fine.
It's sad to watch it in schools. This girl's upset. Her teacher talks to her.
You can wash your hands, let me wash your face.
Helps her wash off the tears. But wouldn't a hug be better?
Maybe if the parents are looking in the window, what's my daughter doing sitting on her lap? Children tend to perceive the situation differently than it really is. And they may say, oh, you know, Mrs. Wixer touched my bottom when she put me down. And then before you know it, it's turned into something that it really wasn't.
When Joan Gray started teaching, she thought nothing of getting close to her students.
I would play baseball with them. They'd come to my home. Today it could be so misconstrued of why do you have an interest in my son or daughter?
Would you drive a child home?
Never.
Never?
Never.
So what do you tell teachers now?
We are telling teachers in the overall teach but don't touch.
And to get the message out, teachers' unions get lawyers like Michael Rothschild to lecture teachers about the new rules.
Don't invite them home. Under any circumstances, no matter how much you want Don't invite them home. Take the kids to McDonald's at lunch. Have them over for dinner. I see nods, yeah, right. Oh, parent approval, sure, right. Suicide, don't do it. Kids that need help in the potty or in the bathroom, you take an aide with you. And if you don't take an aide with you, you let the kid go on the floor.
The bathroom's a particular problem for kindergarten teachers.
A lot of times they'll say, you know, Mrs. Wixer, will you wipe me? No, absolutely not. Or the toilet paper roll needs to be changed. I would have never thought twice about that. I always have a couple extra rolls because it happens. Go in, change the toilet paper, come out. Not now. Now I call the nurse, and she will go in and wipe them. And I stand by the door. And then she will immediately go and call the parents and say, this is what I just did.
Isn't this nuts?
We have been told that this is the way that you need to protect yourself. And these are the ways you need to behave now. A child on your lap has been called institutional abuse. That's the term they're calling it now.
Is there anybody here that teaches music? Do you ever teach kids what to do with their diaphragms when they're singing?
This teacher was already warned. She's learned to teach without touching.
We blow it out like a candle.
You're a smart lady.
But of course, I'd think this technique wouldn't be as good as this way, the way they used to do it.
Right there.
Right there. Mm-hmm.
If I'm a 13-year-old girl, and she's male, where's she touching me? Not a good place.
It's music teachers and gym teachers, coaches, who are accused most often.
Did anybody here ever touch a kid teaching them a volleyball serve? I see nods, yes, right, you do. Stop it. As your lawyer, if I ever see you touch a child in any way, if they're crying, if they're hurt, for any reason, if I ever see you touch a child, I will break both your arms and both your legs.
Hasn't it gone too far?
Absolutely, it has, but we're all, we've seen what can happen.
And so you see it most every day in school. When the child can't find his ride and the teacher wants to comfort him, she moves to touch, but watch her hand. She holds off.
We're losing something, some kind of interaction between the children, and I feel badly for them that it's come to this point, because I would like to be more motherly, because some of them, they just need that. I do hug them still, but I do think a lot of times, am I doing the right thing?
Some teachers say they won't stop touching. The kids need it too much. Clarence Watson's been a music teacher for 36 years.
The girls will come up to me first thing in the morning. Hey, Mr. Watson, how you doing?
Do you get nervous?
No, because I've been doing it for so long, and I kind of think that maybe this is their first hug for the day. It might be their first hug for the week.
And Dick Cleghorn? Well, after his 3-year ordeal, he's now back on the job at his old school.
And how was it to be back in class?
Wonderful. When I walked back into that first faculty meeting, it was a standing ovation.
Do you still tap the kids on their shoulder?
Yes, I do.
Would you hug a kid who was upset?
I did the other day.
The lawyers tell him not to, but he does it anyway. He says it's too important to the kids.
But I'm a little more careful. I don't want this to happen again.